Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Northern Celtic podcast for another week of Celtic goodness. I have returned, Cameron, this week, and I am joined by your regular. I am joined by your regular hosts, as you can hear, Isaac.
Hello, everyone.
And by Dan.
Hello, everyone.
And I will hand you over to Isaac.
Thank you very much. As you can see, the return of the Beast has come back, which is great news for everyone. We did miss you dearly last week, Cam, but it's good to have you back on. And we hope that your carpet's now back in place.
It is for the minute.
There we go. It might be interesting to see how this one goes, because me and Dan are actually recording from the same room today. So it'll be nice to actually see him, rather than just talk through a mic and see how it goes. And we will eventually get to a point where we can all be together in a room and you can actually see us. So it will be one of those things to see how it goes. So first, to start off with, we're going to go with our flashback result of the day, and I think it really links in with our theme that we're doing. So our flashback result is the Ipswich Elite game where we lost 5-0 and only had 10 men. It will come up on the screen now. Both of you were there. So Cam, what do you remember about that result? Why was it so, such a poignant part in the season for us?
Well, it was a massive game, really. I remember turning up. The weather wasn't too fantastic. Ipswich Elite had a flawless record at that point last season, and
yeah, they did.
And we were all standing outside, and unfortunately, due to circumstances with other players and that lot, we didn't have a full team turn up. We started the game with 10 men, and I remember we all, minutes before kick-off, we all looked at each other, and I think we all accepted our fates almost a bit there, but really, we put up a good fight, bearing in mind this is a team that had nearly shunted a lot of teams into double figures before that, and we came out and with 10 men, and we dug in and we said no, really, and I can't remember, was it only 1-0 at half time?
It was we were losing 1-0 at half time.
Which,
but like you say, it allowed us to play with that bit of freedom, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
it was.
So it gave us kind of the chance of going, well, we're not going to win this. Let's try and play our football. And to be fair, we played better than we did when we had 11 men against them later on in the season. So I mean, you were running up the other end, weren't you, Dan? So
yeah, it wasn't a easy game at all, but only holding them to one goal in the first half, considering they were scoring good 5 or 6 potentially in just the first half.
Yeah.
So we did alright, just lose 5-0 overall with the 10 men.
Yeah, definitely. So that links on to our topic today, which is we're going to talk about some of the difficulties of Sunday League football. And this is, really an interesting topic for everyone to listen to, because people who are involved with the club and know a lot about the higher end of the club, who are involved in the committee areas, you will know what it's like and how difficult it is to have these Sunday League teams to getting them to where you want them to be. So I thought that because that links into our first one from our last game, we've suffered a lot with it over the last few seasons, and it has happened to a lot of teams that I do know of. But players turning up has been a big problem over the years, hasn't it, Cam?
Yeah.
But, so I thought you were going to elaborate there.
I don't think there's much to elaborate on. I mean, there's many reasons why players can't turn up and that lot, and that's why you need squad depth and a great communication between your fellow players.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it is such a big part of the game, and when you have players not turn up in the squad, that's fine, but it's when people say they're going to be there.
Yeah.
And then they don't turn up without an explanation. That's when it becomes really annoying. And it's a really frustrating part. But like you said, having that squad depth is crucial to the team and having those options.
Yeah.
And I think this year definitely we're going to have that. I mean, from the few training sessions that we've had, been training a couple of times a week, and we're getting good turnouts to training, and it's a big turning point. But that is, especially for new teams in leagues and new teams starting up, it's a big problem, because a lot of teams will fold after a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And it's tough that way. And like I say, we've seen who was at the folded this year. Cherry Tree Reserves. They folded, which is it's a great shame. You don't want to see it happen to anyone, but it is a really tough part of the game. It's making sure your players are on board and making sure that they are following the vision that you have as a club, which is the hard part to get everyone on board. But once you've got the players together, it definitely pushes you in the right direction. Do you agree, Cam?
100% is you got to push together. Really, you can't push individually. You can't push yourself hard on the pitch and then not, because you've got to rely on other people to turn up as well. So
yeah, definitely. And I think, like I say, this will then, being due to the players, the next difficult point that I think is the huge part of Sunday football is the money aspect. It is a very big part that is almost a bit of a taboo subject. So it's very kind of, not many people talk about it, because you like to think that the players in the team who are there will turn up with pay, because we're all adults and we all have to look after ourselves. Therefore, if we say we're going to pay, you should pay. I mean, there is occasions where it happens where you turn up the games and what happens is you don't have the money that week, and that's fine. But it's then making sure that you do turn up with it in the end. So, but it's like I say, or like what you do, Dan, is like you pay in advance, don't you?
Yeah, the only issue when you pay in advance, what I found is when you sort of maybe give maybe 40 quid over 2 weeks or something, you kind of forget how much you've given the club, which isn't a bad thing. Just remembering how much you've paid when you get later in the season, because you're not sure if you're still in credit, still in debt. Yeah. Thankfully, I'm normally all right on that front. I'm normally within a pretty reasonable amount of credit, so I'm all right.
It's managing your finances at the end of the day, isn't it? It's being able to do that, and it's just making sure that you turn up with. I mean, I know that the problem is, especially at the minute, cash is going to be quite hard to come by too, because convoyed. Of course I do. And it's going to be harder to come by. But when it does, it's just getting people on board. And from what I've seen about players, buying gear this season and
football gear, just to make that perfectly clear.
Not that kind of gear. Doesn't put the money in this time. So it's a really crucial part. The best way to do it is, making sure that you don't want to nag players, because you don't want to parent players at the end of the day, do you, Cam?
Sorry?
You don't want to parent players, do you? You don't want to be there.
Yeah.
5 minutes, and I know Steve, bless her, who's our secretary. She's constantly having to message players. But to be fair to the players this season, they have paid up and they've done really well. So I mean,
and getting the debt sorted out and all the finances sorted right before the season probably isn't normally a very common thing in Sunday League. Normally, is once you finish the season, you have maybe 2 weeks off, then pre-season starts, and then you go straight back into the season. This season's been different due to the coronavirus.
Hey.
We've kind of got a bit more of a chance of sorting different getting the payments, sign-on fees, getting all that up to scratch. So then when it comes to the start of the season, everything's all sort of in line and in place, and you haven't got to worry about the money.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And I think that, like you say, is everyone's going to be keen this one to start off with as well. So everyone's wanting to get back, which is really good. And I've seen that enthusiasm in training, and I've really seen the want and drive for the players that have turned up, which will hopefully transpire into the first season. And judging on what's happened recently with the government guidelines, and that grassroots football is starting to now get the go ahead. It's looking like that our pre-seasons in August will start to take place, which will be a really good start to get us getting where we want to go.
Regarding the players turning up in training and that, the good thing about that is also there's a lot more competition for places, which I think what the club sort of needed.
Yeah.
Which is, competition's a part of everything in most jobs and
in life in
general, like you said. But having the competition gives you that extra drive as well, and that also comes in within the commitment you have for your teammates and your club.
Yeah, definitely. And it shows, like you say, like you and me, Cam, having to drive, 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
When we come up to going into commitment, and you set an example, don't you? And that's what's really important. And you lead as you want others to follow, and that's the best way to do it. But it's financially for ourselves, it's going well, and that's what we want, really, isn't it? And you want to just keep striving on. But like Dan said, there is normally at the end of the season, there's that huge period that a lot of the time inks over into the next start of the season, where you are having to still gain finances from players from the other season. But the way that it's gone this year has been a first since I've there, where it's sort of been very smooth running, and we're quite pleased all about it. So it's just getting that money in, and getting players signed on, because I know that we will soon to be announced some big signings coming into the club that we will be hopefully revealing and getting them onto the podcast. So definitely stay tuned to that, and we will update you when and where they happen. So I think the next point of our podcast for the difficulties is a big one, which I know that not just clubs in our league, but it mainly affects clubs in our league, is the player grading system. And it's a really tough one, because you'll sign a player, for example, Kelvin, who we signed last season, is the best example of this. So Kelvin played, at quite a good level when he was a lot younger, and played on a Sunday, I think, for another team. But the issue was that when he then went to come and sign on for us, when he hadn't been playing Saturday level at that football for many years, it then automatically graded him as an A-graded player. Which, for those who don't know, in Division 4, you aren't allowed any A-graded players. You're only allowed a certain amount of B-graded players. So the problem was that we had about a 3-4 period game at the beginning of the season when we were already down by players because of what happened at the beginning of last year. It meant that we struggled that way when we needed him, which was the problem. But the issue was, if you had a player, if he was over 30 and wasn't playing at a level, you could appeal it. And luckily, we managed to get him down to a B grade, which is really good, which means we were able to play him. But it is such a huge problem, because if you've got mates that want to come and play with you, but that they may have played at a higher level once upon a time, the league somehow picks that up as being a different grade to what they should be.
It's like, if you haven't played for, say, like 3 years or something, or say if you haven't played for a top team a year and a half, 2 years, I think you should consider, like, depending on the division, I think, depending on what division you're in, the grading's obviously got to be fair. But I think if you're only allowed like a certain amount of B grade players, which I do agree with, I think like A grading players, I think you should be allowed for like Div 3, obviously, with not the best league. I think you should be allowed at least one player. I think that would be a bit fair.
I mean,
but again, it's sort of it just does depend on.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's a difficult system to kind of get hold of, because we've played teams that have got a team in a higher division, they've got a reserves team in our league, and therefore they're allowed to field these A-graded players because they have a team in the higher division,
which isn't really fair.
Which is not fair on us. So it's very give and take, which is a really tough for clubs in our league who literally only have one team. It's hard to get the players you want and what they want to sign on, because of where they play, and that makes the process, a lot harder. And I think it's definitely something that is difficult for Sunday League teams to sign players on. And I've seen it experienced here and in many different clubs, and it's hard to get it going. But hopefully, it's one of the things that you can look at. It's looking at trying to see where the gradings of the players are. There is a format which gives you the list. So when you're looking to sign on players, just make sure before you get your hopes up on signing them on that you know where they've played before and that they would be available. and if they're over a certain age, I think it's over 30 maybe, you can appeal that down because they might not be playing at that division. But then it is what it is. But we'll keep going. I mean, another thing that we're looking at is booking pitches. I mean, Cameron, you can tell us this one. Where do all the Sunday League teams play?
Gainsborough Sports Centre.
Gainsborough Sports Centre. So, although we have home and away games, they're all. I think there was maybe two. Maybe we played at Felixstowe and Wickham. I think were the only two places we did. Like, that's brilliant for track because everyone knows where to go. But the one time we have an actual away game, it takes everyone forever to get there because no one can find the place. It's definitely a thing at the beginning of the season, looking for places to play for the season. But we've always, ever since I've known, played our home games at Gainsborough. I mean, the beautiful ground as it is. It's the Camp Nou of Ipswich, to be honest.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's more like the Colchester United Stadium. To be fair, Gainsborough would, give Colchester United Stadium a run for their money.
I'd still rather play in the Colchester Stadium.
That's like a sheep's pen.
I'd still rather play in it, though.
You can plough your fields there. It is probably be a flat surface, and so to be fair, you can do that at Gainsborough as well. but yeah, like I say, depending on where your team wants to play, it's hard to then get yourself a pitch where you want to be. But especially at Gainsborough, which I imagine that it's really hard to now, if you're a new team, to get a pitch there because there's so many teams now. I mean, if you look at the divisions, I mean, there's Prem through to Div 4, there's loads of teams, and a lot of them do play at Gainsborough. And I mean, you'll know, Cam, when we walk out onto the pitch and try and find our pitches, not only booking pitches, but locating the pitch is hard as well, isn't
it? The marking system of the pitch, I mean, in the past there has been scenarios where the letters, and there's a little map where it says the pitches are lettered, where the letters correspond to their pitches on the map, and we've gone to that specific pitch and they are completely different. So it is.
Well, that's the problem. The problem was, on the league site, it would tell you one pitch, and then it would be different on the day. But I mean, that happens, and you can't do much about that. So you kind of have to, we've got to give the league and the FA all a bit of slack because they do a brilliant job.
Yeah.
It's just it's areas that that this is our personal point of view that would really benefit for the league to do or for teams to do. So it's just a bit of advice, really, isn't it, Cam?
Yeah.
So booking pitches is definitely a difficult one, and then actually locating them, we found out, is hard in the end. But yes, so like I say, with signing players as well, that kind of links really with the grading, doesn't it? But I mean, transferring players is a little bit easier now, isn't it? You pay a transfer fee, and it's one of them areas that if you want to get the player across, I mean, we've had a couple of players. I think we are transferring a player this year, which we will announce eventually when he signs. But you'll find out in due course. We'll keep everyone hanging. You can't bear the tension. But it's definitely a difficult area, and I would really advise that again. It's just organisation, really, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's just being really organised and on the ball to help with these difficulties. So the best way to help your team is to be organised and make sure your committee or whoever's in charge of your club is very organised on the ball from an early stage, because you don't want to leave it to the last couple of weeks before the season starts and then you struggle at the end of the day. And you don't need that. And I mean, Cam, you've seen the days where I've had to manage when Ad's not been there, and you know how hard it is on the day, isn't it, getting everything organised?
Yeah, it can be a right scramble sometimes. You really need to come, you need to try and be prepared as possible, and then be willing to improvise if necessary.
Yeah, the improvisation, like you say, is a big part of it, to be honest. So it's making sure that you can adapt when needed. And that's the good thing about having you on the sideline with me when Adam's not there. I almost take the managing role and you end up doing my role, which is, getting the finances and writing players' names down, and that's a big part of it as well. Another difficult part of it is the on the day stuff, isn't it? And it's making sure your players are all turning up, which is really important as part of the commitment. And it's having the money tin ready, having the player sheets printed off, and you need all of that present so that you can get on with the morning. And we have to take a hat off to Adam, because he does it without fail. Although he what he calls Jamaican time, turning up obscene hours on Sunday morning, but he does turn up and he is there to do the job. So you can't, and he does a really good job of everything, on and off the field. So I mean, we're all pleased to have him on board, and he's a really good manager. And was one of the best I've had to play under, so it's really, really good. But like I say, it is difficult. And another one, like I say, for clubs that are lacking sponsors is a really hard one to get, isn't it, Cam?
Yeah, I mean, since I've been at the club, have we had a sponsor since I've been at the club?
I don't think we've even. Well, yes, we have. We had that one last season, didn't we?
Oh, yes.
Not last season, the season before.
Season before, yeah.
Yes. So we have had one since, but we won't get into that. That was a difficult situation. But like I say, it is going to be interesting trying to get one, and we are trying to find one, aren't we? So it's trying to reach out to areas and trying to find this sponsor that we need.
I think that's because also, like, some businesses, as much as they want to sort of invest in a Sunday league, they try not to sort of phrase it as though it comes across bad, but it more probably as for a club like us, it helped publicise their business, which I think is something they're gaining potentially extra customers. So even if they gave us and then if they give the club a bit of money, that little bit of money will not necessarily be spent straight away. That will be maybe for a basis of something new later in the season, which I think any bit of money you can come up in Sunday League, you kind of need to spend it wisely, as like it was your own.
It helps the club keep afloat, doesn't it? And it helps benefit keep everything alive, and that's what we're looking for. But like I say, until then, we'll keep doing what we have been doing and soldiering on as a team. So, and we've got our kits this year, which will be
really nice kits.
Yeah, like I say, with the badge at the centre, we'll release some pictures of those soon. We played in the home shirt and the away shirt last season towards the end, but we're hoping to get the badges entered onto the away shirt too. So that'll then look like a really clean design. Very, very retro, aren't they?
100%.
I mean, Cam, out of the kits we've played in, where do you rate this one at the minute that we've got?
What, the new green one?
Yeah.
I think I'll put it third, if I'm honest. I really like the classic Inter Milan badge in the centre. Personally, it's one of my favourite choices designed for a football kit. I think that's.
To be fair, I think we'll pop it up in this podcast, so I'll put it up on the screen now. I'll look at the home and away shirt this season. So, but I think what would be a good idea. I think we can do in the future is see if we can find some of the classic Northern Celtic kits, and when we're able to be all together to compare them and have a look at
and rate them from your personal favourite.
Almost a bit like what I wore that BT Sport do. We could do something like that. But yeah, like I say, there's a lot of great and amazing aspects of Sunday football. But if you didn't have the hard nature parts, you couldn't appreciate the nice parts of the game. So you have to go through these difficulties, but it's about how you overcome them at the end of the day. And it's definitely something that we can all work on, and there's always areas to improve. So it's really important that you look to build on for the future. So I hope that people that have been listening, if they are struggling with these areas, take on a bit of the advice that we said, And if not, and if you're looking to start the club or go on to further into, the committee of a club, which I would advise you heavily do, always, try and get involved with your team that you're, high up, and try and help out, offer your skills, because it's really important that you have a good team with a diverse set of skills, which really helps out. So, it's good to support each other, and it's really important at the minute, as I'll keep reiterating over every podcast. But we've hit the 10 mark, 10 weeks of doing this now, you two.
Jeez.
I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting this to go from something we thought was going to be sort of a little project to something that's got like the response it has over the 10 weeks.
I mean, it's been great fun, and it's Cam on his end with a dictaphone. Soon we'll be able to all be together and do one in person.
It's on this Cameron spree and squeeze as soon as in his time. What a hero! It's good to have you back this week, big man.
Lovely, yeah, it's good to be back.
Right, I'll hand it over to you, Cam, to take us away for episode 10.
Lovely. So, thank you everybody for listening for another week. We all appreciate all the support that we've had, as we've just stated. It's goodbye from me. Goodbye from Dan.
Goodbye. If you have anything you want to ask us, just leave it in the comments and get back to us. Thank you for listening.
And goodbye from Isaac.
Peace and love, guys, and we'll speak to you next week.
And on that note, speak to you all next week.